going back to my first alumni dinner and talking to some of the old alumni, and they asked what I did. I said, I'm a logging system specialist. And one old guy was like, that's a very interesting job for a young lady.
I could do it. You could always reach for the stars. You're just going to have to work a lot harder to get there. And that's how it was.
I could go to a conference one day if it's in a certain area of forestry and there might be, 5 women in the room. Or the next day I could go and there's only 5 men.
Maybe I'm more sensitive to it now because I've gotten older versus when you're younger, you're more elastic, you can accept things and things. It's no big deal.
I mean, it's been a traditionally white male dominated field, like a lot of other fields, and big strides have been made in some regards. But there's a lot of work to do.
It's really interesting because a lot of the women that I've been talking to and working with kind of either like came into the game super duper early, like they were the first to like graduate from a forestry program, or they're really young and they've kind of been surrounded by women in forestry. And so I'm wondering like if you could talk about that and if you ever saw like either a lack of representation or enough representation where you felt encouraged to kind of pursue this path.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting going to Berkeley when I went to Berkeley, and currently it still is the case, compared to all the other forestry programs, especially, there's a lot more women in the program. Not necessarily, there weren't faculty or staff or anything when I was there, but other undergrads and graduate students. So you're kind of surrounded, like you were the norm.
Yeah, it's interesting going to Berkeley because the forestry program was really small. The class I graduated with was only 11 people. I think out of those 11, like, I think only 3 or 4 of them were men. So like at Berkeley, the demographic was sort of switched.
I also was really involved with logging sports. And yeah, we were the all-girl team and we would go to competitions, and normally it's, there's a couple girls and then mostly guys on the team, or just as many girls as you need for the events. And we kind of always had the opposite problem. We had so many girls and it was hard for us to find men.
In the past, it was, male dominated, and now we're female dominated at Cal. And I thought that was pretty cool. One of the alumni I really looked up to was female. So I really didn't feel like there was a big discrepancy, but definitely once I got into the workforce, it did feel that way.
Yeah. Was that kind of a shock for you making that transition from school to the workforce?
I think that like when you first leave school, like maybe what you don't know can't hurt you in a way. Cause I was like, it'll be fine. Like, I mean, I've been accepted as a woman in a lot of other spaces. Like, it'll be fine.
I found it very interesting, the mix of people, depending on when they started their career at the Forest Service, kind of their opinion of things. You had some older men that still felt resentment, and you had women that started their career, they really had to fight.
I remember getting a phone call from the Forest Service. That was my very first Forest Service, or my very first forestry job. And she promptly told me, we tried to give it to your roommate, Ryan, but he didn't want it. He took a job at Soper Wheeler. So now we're offering it to you. And I knew that it wasn't. And I remember I just accepted it as a fact that it wasn't because I was lacking in knowledge. It was because I was a woman and they just had that. And it was a woman that told me that.
There have been like hard times, or like, I don't know, sometimes it's hard to like garner respect or attention as a woman, especially as a young woman.
Some of my first jobs, I worked for a season on the coast with CAL FIRE, and there were women in the office who I could look up to, and I could like kind of see my future in them, which was really important, and I definitely appreciated.
But definitely, like, as I moved into my professional career, like, yeah, I think there are a lot of times where you'll be the only woman in the room.
So having people you trust, and it doesn't have to be just other women in the field. I've had some amazing male mentors and bosses that have been extremely supportive.
I'll say I was probably pretty privileged to work at Blodgett consistently for most of my career. And during the time that I was there, Rob York was the manager, and he really was my mentor. Looking back, like, yeah, I did always have his support.
As a younger woman, that you don't have that confidence and you don't feel like you're still trying to work your way up the ladder, that was something I didn't have for the longest time. And I think it's important to be able to have that confidence to be able to tell somebody where to stick it. I do have a lot of friends that are younger than myself. And yeah, we have a lot of heart to hearts that I feel like I can confidently tell them what's happened and how I feel, and give them some words of wisdom.
There wasn't a huge embracement of kind of diversifying the field back then. And is that something that you think is changing a lot more now that there are different voices kind of in leadership positions?
I do think it's changing. I think a lot of those people are like retired or gone, who harbored more resentment. Not everyone though. There's still always a fight. There's still people who I think feel entitled or whatever, and if they don't get what they want and they're passed over by a woman, they make excuses, and they think, oh, you only got the job because you're a woman or you're a person of color or something like that. So it's still present. I think it's changing, but I do really believe in, companionship of other women and supporting other women.
It's strange to be on the other side. I feel like I've sort of finally gotten to the point in my career where I'm not the youngest one anymore. You don't think you have the qualifications. You don't think that you should be in the place that you are.
Feeling more comfortable speaking up, feeling more comfortable being at the table, like knowing that I do deserve to be there.
I don't know, you sit down and you think about it and you just kind of move on with it. And then you look up and you're like, oh, wait, I've been doing this for the past however many months. Or, oh, yeah, wait, no, I actually do have the knowledge. And yeah, wait, people are looking to me now. I can do this.
Sometimes you get a bad apple every now and then, and it kind of taints everything when it's really, most people are good. Most people are. And it's just every now and then there's somebody that is disrespectful or wants to bully you, and you have to stand up for yourself.
Is there anything you can point to that gives you hope for the future for women in the field?
Oh yeah, I think that we're a lot stronger now. I was at a Women in Timber meeting here in Ukiah a week ago, and it is just so vibrant. There were so many young women in there, and they're all professionals, and they're speaking well, and they are energetic, and it was exciting to be there and see just this different group of people than there was 20 years ago. So I would say that things are definitely going strong. There's a lot of women in positions that were not ever given that opportunity.
Like through my work with the mentorship program, like we require that all of our participants attend training on diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice that we provide for free through the program. And I actually had a really large timber company representative reach out to me and see if they could audit the classes because they were hoping to require something similar of all their employees in the near future. So I was really happy to see that.
Thinking about just legacy in general, a lot of the kind of like discourse that I've heard around forestry has been people talking about how you can like see the impact that you're having, like you can visibly see the work that you're doing playing out. And I'm wondering if now you have any like sort of insight into the impact that you're leaving on California, on the state, and also just on young people too who are going into forestry in the field.
Yeah. The being able to see what you're doing is really, really special. It's also crazy because you know that what you are doing is not for you, it is for that next generation. I'm planting trees that I'm not going to harvest in my lifetime.
I really, really care about this work. And I think that that's something that I see in most of my colleagues as well. Like you don't really get into forestry to like get rich, right? Like you're here because you care about the woods and because you have some sort of passion for this work, whatever like specialty that might be.
Really love being a forester. I identify with it so much. So much of my identity is tied up in being a forester.
I think about, why did I get into forestry? Because I like to be riding my horse. And so I thought, I'll be outside in the woods all day and it'll be just like riding my horse. And that's what that's what 17-year-olds think like, right?
My dream is that, well, it's kind of already happened a little bit, but is that, one day I'm gonna have applications from people for seasonal work that, learned about blodgett on their like second or third grade field trip or something like that. And that's what made them want to be a forester. So I hope that happens. I'm holding out for that one.